Hi. Now I'm ready to teach. I'm Kathleen McElwaine.
And you're invited to paint this painting of a heart-shaped cactus with me. I will demonstrate how to blend colors together to create the glow we all love to see with watercolor paintings. I'm proud to be an ambassador of Daniel Smith Paint, and I strive to bring out the best in each color, and I teach you to do the same. I have been painting with Daniel Smith Paint since 2008. In 2016, Daniel Smith created a dot card for me. Each dot is a color found on my professional palette. I'm always happy to give a dot card to anyone wanting to learn about this wonderful paint. I'm certain you will find all you could hope for out of the 266 colors they offer. I recommend students of watercolor paint on 100% cotton. My two favorite brands are Fluid 100 and Fabriano Artistico 140 pound, cold press or hot press, depending on preference and purpose. I am known as the water brush teacher because I believe a student will learn the quickest with this brush. Water to color ratio becomes familiar before they realize it. The only brand I recommend is Pentel, and I use the medium, the small, and the large brush. I have many students that use watercolor brushes, size 6, 8, or 10 round, and on occasion a 3/4 inch flat. In 2011, when I started teaching beginners watercolor painting full time, I learned how anxious students are when they don't believe they can draw. I started teaching my students to transfer a sketch pattern onto watercolor paper at that time. By teaching with a sketch pattern created from one of my paintings, the student is successful and proud of their painting from the beginning. This builds confidence and gives opportunity to quickly learn, and they lose the fear of not being able to first draw their subject. They learn to relax and watercolor paint. I believe being relaxed is a key ingredient to any learning experience. The Daniel Smith colors I will be using in this painting are first phthalo blue red shade, then phthalo yellow green, and I will use Hansa yellow light, permanent orange, and organic vermilion. Now let's get started painting.
So I get started by laying out the phthalo blue red shade on my palette tray. And now I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm going to add some water to my palette to be able to use all the way through. And now with clean water, I'm going to moisten that top heart, the largest one, and fill in all of the areas. And now I'm going to take all the extra water out of my brush so I can even out that water. And now I want to go into that phthalo blue red shade, and with all of that water that's already on the heart underneath, I lay in full color, and it creates more of a wash with the color. Now I'm going to load my brush with the phthalo yellow green, full strength, and I'm going to lay that color down. I'm not mixing it. I'm just laying that color down. You can see it looks uneven and everything. Now I'm moistening those other hearts. So now I'm ready to paint that top heart with the phthalo yellow green. And it is just a wash, and I just put my brush down with the color, and I don't worry about whether it's even or not. And now I'm taking the phthalo blue red shade, and I am painting that bottom heart. I'm trying to create those edges to be edges that I want them to be, the shape I want it to be. Now I'm cleaning my palette. I personally, as a teacher, teach everybody that if you don't clean your palette, it's very likely you'll make mistakes. Now then, I'm going to take that phthalo blue. I'm even putting stronger phthalo blue red shade on my palette. And what I want to do is outline those 3 dry hearts. They're already dry. I gave them enough time to dry, before I did this stage. And I'm outlining each one of them. And I don't expect that outline to be just perfect. I could have gone even outside of the color and it still would have been right. So now then, I've moistened my brush and I go back in and I soften those edges. Softening the edges can create one of the most wonderful changes in your painting. And practice that. Try to use it as often as you can so you know what to expect from softening those edges. And I'm doing the same thing now with this one. Now the outline was allowed to dry a little bit more, but the water will still reactivate that paint and soften that edge. Now the outside edge is not softened, it's just that inside edge of that outline. And you want to just leave it like it is. You don't go messing in it, because when you go messing in it, you overwork your painting. And now I'm going to put that yellow paint, it's Hansa Yellow Light, on my palette. And I'm going to make sure that I have a good wash. I'm laying in that water with that clean, moist brush. And just, filling in those shapes. I know you can't see the sketch, but I am staying inside of the heart shapes of that sketch. Now I've taken my yellow and I'm going in and creating the shape that my drawing is with the yellow. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the other part of that heart. And you lay that paint down and you don't go back into it. You don't go back and fill in. You don't go back and forth like you see so many artists painting back and forth with the tip of their brush. You lay that brush down and you pick it up and you leave it alone. And now then I'm going to outline those shapes, and it's going to look really different to you than what you expected. But I want some indication that that is 2 heart shapes there. And I've done that with the phthalo blue red shade. And now then, one part of that heart is maybe not shaped as pretty as I would have liked for it to. And you're going to be able to watch me go back and soften and reshape that edge. And I did not clean my brush, just exactly what you've seen there. And I go into it, and now I'm softening that edge. I'm reshaping that edge, and it reshaped just fine. And now then I'm continuing that edge of that heart. And I come down, continuing the edge of that heart. I clean my brush, and now I'm going to go into the phthalo blue red shade, and I'm going to go back into this heart, and I'm darkening that whole heart. And I lay that color down and I pick my brush up and I don't go back messing in my paint at that same time with that same amount of color on there. Now that is a little bit dry right now, so it had been allowed to dry, so now I've taken my spray bottle and I moistened just that heart. And what I want to do is I want to lift some of that phthalo blue red shade. And that allows that heart to be more brilliant. Let more of the white show through. And all I'm doing is lifting moisture. I'm not rubbing that hard. I'm not going into it too terribly much. You can see it's still very wet. And when the paint is very wet and the paper is real wet that way, if you go digging into it very much, you're going to go all the way down into the paper and that paint is going to look overworked. So now it's been allowed to dry again, and I'm taking that phthalo yellow green and I am going back in and creating some of the shape of that heart. And I'm not overworking what I'm doing at all. So now I've done the same thing. I'm taking that phthalo yellow green and laying it into that heart. And again, I do not overwork it. And you can see I didn't even fill the whole thing in with the yellow green. I left part of it very yellow. So now I'm cleaning my brush and I'm going in with a very wet, clean brush and I'm pulling out some of that yellow green. So pulling it out means pulling that color down into that yellow. So I'm just leaving it to dry now, and you will see that it gives a much more luminous color light coming through than you would have expected. So now then I'm going to paint the little cups where the flowers go, and my hearts are not really very dry completely yet, so I can paint these flowers because that's outside of that paint that needs to dry. So now that I'm cleaning my brush, and now I'm getting quinacridone red, and that's kind of a pink color, and I did not mention that at the beginning of the painting. But I'm enhancing it with organic vermilion so that it is a more reddish orange. And I just want to lay that color down on here. Just a little bit of a suggestion. That's kind of what those cactus flowers look like. They just have this real bright red-orange down at the base of the flower. And that's what I've done, is just lay that right into the base. And now I'm cleaning my palette really well. So now my paintbrush is clean, and now I'm going in and getting some yellow, and I'm just going to make a suggestion of a little yellow flower in each one of those. And now I'm finished painting it. And all that's left is letting it dry, and then I'll put up my colors and I'll get out my pens to do the black lines. There's only about 4 minutes left, and now I'm using an ultra fine Sharpie, and what I'm doing there are just dots on that heart so that it kind of looks like a cactus, and then I have a little check mark on the edges and just a little line. Those are things that kind of indicate that those are pricklies off of that prickly pear heart cactus. And there's more of it. I'll pick the painting up again, you can see it better. And I just love what I did on this little flower, so I do pick it up and show you that. It's a little crown on top of that flower. And just talking about the black lines a little bit, I do not recommend outlining your painting. It's more of a sketch on top of the painting. So it's a loose, sketchy drawing on top of that painting. And then I have fun with the little prickly pear stickers that are on it. Those suggestions are all the way around, but the drawing has taken in more white space, and I just really, really enjoy doing these prickly pear heart cactus a lot. And I just have fun with this other little flower, and I just keep on doing that. And eventually I get out my India ink brush pen to finish it. I want my base to be a lot stronger drawing. But in the end, I'm very happy with this little painting. And have fun with this stage. Don't be afraid that you are going to make a mistake. You can be so timid that you're too heavy-handed. You can be so timid that you don't do enough. And you can be so timid that you overdo it. So it's always a good idea to stop and look at what you've created and kind of enjoy what you're doing in such a way that it is expressive of your enjoyment of the drawing. And so I've done this with the ultrafine black Sharpie at the bottom, and now I'm opening that India ink brush pen, and I'm just over doing a heavier line, just kind of tying the two of those together. And now I'm going in and doing some prickly pear, just the little dots in there, a little bit stronger because it's with that India ink pen. And it's just, I don't know, I have so much fun doing this, and I hope you do also. And I just went right down that edge, and it was a lot of fun to do that. And I like signing my name with this brush pen. So, and this is just a brush pen that people are buying online. It's actually a finer brush than the medium brush on the Pentel. It's more like this small, and it has a really, really nice controllable point. So thank you for painting this with me. And remember, you were created in God's image, and so there's no question about it. You are creative. Thank you for painting with me. And if you enjoyed this video, you can find more and more videos from my Zoom classes and independent videos that I've created by visiting waterbrushteacher.com and then clicking on the video library. Thank you for painting with me.